Okay, we're back.
We are back.
This is Susan Donkers.
And I'm Charles Hauser.
And this is the Ribbon Cut podcast, where we educate foreign direct investors, manufacturers, industrials, anybody out there making big deals and landing big moves.
Absolutely.
So just to remind everybody, this type of show, the Ribbon Cut Show, it's to introduce key players in this sector so that all of our listeners can know inside site selection, the trends, the tools, and the tactics. So who do we have with us today?
We have Kim Gerlt from Missouri Partnership, and we are so happy to have her on. Kim, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Such a pleasure to be here with you today. I really appreciate the invitation to join you.
Oh, we are so glad to have you. Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do with at the partnership?
Yeah, so I work with Missouri Partnership. I've been here for 4 years now. I'm VP of Business Recruitment. So our organization is a public-private nonprofit organization that focuses on business attraction on behalf of the state of Missouri. So we do work very closely with both our public and private partners at the Hawthorne Foundation, the Missouri Department of Economic Development, the state of Missouri, as well as our partners in economic development across the entire state.
Awesome. So what's been, since the 4 years that you've been there, what type of industries have you guys been working on or attracted to?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of activity across a lot of different industries. I think one of our strong industries where we see a lot of activity is in the food and beverage industry.
Mm-hmm.
We have more than 500 food production businesses in the state of Missouri. We have pet food companies as well, but we have a very strong agricultural industry here, which really creates this powerhouse that provides companies with support and collaboration. In fact, American Food Groups is one of the larger projects in this space, and they're going to be opening their doors any day now. They invested in an $800 million new meat processing facility in Warren County, Missouri. So we're very excited about that. We're also seeing a lot of growth in data centers, which, I think a lot of places are experiencing this. It's a nationwide trend.
Yeah.
As AI ramps up and tech companies need more data centers to be able to keep up. So we've seen investment from major players. Google recently announced plans to build a $1 billion data center in Kansas City.
Yep.
And Meta announced an $800 million data center in the Kansas City region a few years ago, too. So we're seeing a lot in that aspect.
Wow.
So, Kim, what I'm hearing, 500 food and beverage manufacturers, two major data center announcements. That to me, I'm distilling that down to water capacity. I mean, it sounds like Missouri has quite a bit to offer foreign direct investors in terms of the capacity of water that you can supply to projects.
Yeah, you're right. It does take a lot of water, and we do have an abundance of water here in the state, which is, an excellent attribute to be able to meet some of these higher demands that a lot of projects, and even including manufacturing projects that may need. Yeah, you're exactly right.
So, Kim, those food and beverage manufacturers out there, they are often looking at multiple locations when they're considering of where they want to manufacture because they're targeting their end consumer and wanting to be within some sort of delivery distance of their end market. So what types of recruitment events does the partnership attend, right? Where do you go meet food and beverage manufacturers? The Fancy Food Show, the Pet Food Forum. Do you have kind of a hit list of shows that you attend throughout the year?
Yeah, we do. We try to make it to a lot of different industry trade shows, really going there and putting forth as much information about Missouri, why they should consider us, because you're right, it's a strategic opportunity for them to locate. And with Missouri being centrally located in the middle of the US, it really provides these companies an opportunity to be able to enter the US market. We have really great infrastructure on our transportation, so they can hit most of the US within, or I'm sorry, 50% of the US within a 1 day drive time, and most of the rest of the US with a 2 day drive time. So we're really trying to get out there, make sure that we're talking about Missouri, the sites that we have, the benefits of locating here, the low cost of business, and just making sure that we are present at the events that they're attending as well.
So let's shift a little bit to your target industry sectors. So you've got these strengths in terms of the digital infrastructure that you can provide to data centers and water infrastructure that you can provide to food and beverage. Are there any emerging trends that you're seeing out there as you're out recruiting? What are you seeing crop up in more niche sectors?
So that's a great question. In the geospatial and technology sector, Missouri is already this tech hub with billions recently invested, as we talked about with Meta and Google earlier. But we also have the next NGA West, which is set to open this year. And our state is poised to welcome more innovative leaders in mapping and data analytics and technology. So the next NGA West is going to be a state-of-the-art facility that's going to be developed in St. Louis, and it will serve as the new Western headquarters for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency.
How about that?
Yeah, it's very exciting. So
I did not know that. That is really great.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? My first job out of college was working at the Pentagon renovation program, and NGA was one of my tenants, right?
Oh, really?
So there are all the different federal agencies are tenants of inside the building. So they operate it like a commercial real estate building.
Yep.
And they were one of my first introductions. There was land surveying, and then I was introduced to mapping really through NGA. So NGA West. So that's probably similar to how I think Huntsville, Alabama has quite a bit of federal agencies that locate there in kind of this satellite location.
Yes.
So St. Louis is attracting essentially a federal campus.
Yeah, it's going to be aimed at enhancing national security by advancing the geospatial intelligence capabilities, fostering innovation, improving collaboration with industries, academia, and the government partners. So it's very exciting.
In that vein, what kind of misconceptions do you think people have about the state of Missouri when you're out there globally promoting the location?
Yeah, it's interesting. So through research, we found that a lot of places or a lot of people or companies don't really even know about us. So it's not necessarily battling a misconception, but more so making sure that they're aware that we're here and all of the benefits that we have to offer. So sometimes we feel we may be a little bit humble, like many others in the Midwest. And so just really making an effort to get information out there about Missouri, why it's a strategic location for them to consider for their investment.
Let me change a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about sites.
What you got?
How are you investing in finding and readying new sites? Do you guys have some sort of initiative you're working on?
We do. So, we're always looking for ways to help make the state be more competitive as a whole. And so, Missouri Partnership, what we did is a way to try to help our local and regional partners because we all work together very collaboratively so that we as a whole can be more competitive when we get these projects. So, we created our capacity building program, which is called Raise the Bar. So there's multiple components in it. We have Raise the Bar Train, which is where we work one-on-one or in a group setting with our local partners throughout the state, really working with them to help fine-tune best practices so that when they're responding to these RFIs, they have their material ready and they're able to submit timely and competitively for those projects. We also work with our local partners on Raise the Bar Assess, which is where we secure a national site selection consultant to lead communities through a mock project, including an in-person site visit. So this is an opportunity for them to go through a site visit in a safe learning environment, but yet where they're going to get
I love that idea.
specific. Yeah, it's been a huge benefit for our communities because they get site-specific information at the end of the program that allows them to then, again, fine-tune their responses, know where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. So again, they're more competitive whenever an actual project comes to them. And then go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just thinking that when I was working on those types of projects, we would call them a scrimmage.
Yeah.
Right. It's an opportunity for the team to practice before the big game shows
Yes.
up on their doorstep.
I like that. Yes. It's exactly what it is. So
you've got train, assess, and then there's a third component.
Exactly. We have Raise the Bar, Compete. And so with Compete, what we were seeing were there was these very large projects that needed very large sites. And as a whole, Missouri didn't have the inventory to be able to submit for these projects. And so one of the ways that Missouri Partnership thought that we could help with this was to engage with a site selection consultant and have them come and do a review of the entire state of Missouri, looking to identify large industrial sites. So we started with the focus on mega sites, which were 1,000+ acre sites. We wanted those to have rail, and then we wanted to identify at least 3 of them through this process. And then we came back and did a second round where we focused on premier sites, which were 200+ acre sites. We wanted at least 50% of those to have rail access. And our hope was to identify 10 of them. So during this process, we worked very closely with the consultant, with our utility partners, with our local partners, trying to identify what would be the community's appetite for heavy or medium industrial development. Were there fatal flaws? Would there be issues getting utilities to the sites? And during each phase, the consultant down selected the best sites to move forward. So ultimately, we had communities that were able to go through virtual site visits, and then the consultants actually came into Missouri and did in-person site visits so they could have a better understanding of the sites that we were evaluating. So we were really pleased at the end of the initiative. We wanted to have 3 mega sites. We ended up with 2, and we wanted to have 10 premier sites, and we ended up with 11. So it was a very pleasant surprise that it was very difficult to down select those sites. So it was good to hear that we had a lot of good quality sites that our communities could work with. So our goal is then for them to control, certify, and then we'll market them. So we're kind of working through that process. Those sites are in various stages of readiness, but it's always nice to have this pipeline of sites that, are available so that when these large projects do come along, we do have something that will keep us in the competition.
That's fantastic.
Well, I have a couple of follow-ups on that because when I've talked to global companies over the past decades, those people that are looking for sites,
Hmm.
a way to communicate this to them is this is research and development, right? This is product
Hmm.
development. So they do this too, where they're defining success, they're designing their product, and they have to go through many rounds of prototyping before they finally get it through production and scale up. I mean, that's what I don't think that global companies truly appreciate fully how many years in advance economic development leaders are spending preparing these sites and communities for those large projects. So I've got two follow-up questions for you, Kim. On the
Yeah.
community side, in order to find 2 mega sites and 11 premier sites, you've had to work with a lot of communities across the state.
Hmm.
So what's something that you feel like a community leader has shared with you in terms of something they've learned or an insight they've gained? And then on the business attraction side, what kind of response and feedback are you hearing from those interested in the state?
Yeah, it's been interesting as we work through the process with our community partners. It was very interesting for us because we had varying levels of interest at the community level.
Mm-hmm.
We had some communities who, may have been working on a site, and then to have the consultant come in and say, that's a great site, but you have a really good site over here. And so trying
Ah,
to navigate um, how that may impact the work that they had already been done.
Hmm.
Also, giving them the experience to go through the virtual site visit and then again to go through the in person site visit was a really beneficial opportunity for them to see how that process is going to work, because we have some newer economic development partners who haven't had the opportunity to go through a virtual site visit or an in-person site visit. And
mm-hmm.
we actually had a community who reached out after we did one of these who said this timing could not have been better because they actually had an opportunity within a couple of weeks, and they felt like it really helped them be prepared for that opportunity. So we've had some really good feedback from our local partners.
Yeah, that's really fulfilling.
Hmm.
And then how about
It
on the
is.
investor side? How are businesses reacting to the amount of product you have?
Yeah, so we thought when we kicked this off, it's kind of been a learning process as we've gone through this. We thought that we would be marketing then once the sites were controlled and started improvements. And what we've found is that we're seeing a lot of interest in these sites already without even having to market them. So
Yeah,
it's been,
we hear the same thing, right?
Yep.
Tell us about
yeah,
your off-market properties. People want to know.
yes. Yes, it's very exciting and very it's rewarding, I'm sure, too, to the local partners to know that all of this work that they're doing
Yeah, it's paying
is
off.
being, yes, and it's recognized.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So creating opportunities for them, and we are ecstatic about that.
Well, let's talk about workforce, right? So when you talk about
Yeah.
fatal flaws and how these sites that you found and developed are coming through the pipeline, a box they absolutely have to check is either we have the workforce now or it's coming. We're developing it. So how does the
Mhm.
partnership get involved with bringing workforce actually to the places where they need to be?
Or getting them ready to work.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Missouri One Star, which is the state's premier workforce development program. They're able to provide businesses with comprehensive pre-employment and customized training solutions. So they have a network of resources that meet each of the businesses' unique needs depending on what they are. They understand the importance of recruitment and pre-employment,
Mm-hmm.
and what that means to the businesses at each stage of the process, right? So they have services that can connect them with the right candidate, as well as recruit and screen, do assessments, and then design specialized pre-employment training for potential employees so that when the businesses are ready, they have the talented and properly trained, skilled employees that they need for for their facilities.
One of the things that I'm curious about is, as you are working these types of deals, what do you think is an often overlooked factor? There's a lot of attention often put on incentives. There's a lot of attention put on workforce. But what do you think most people overlook, or what would you like them to look at more closely?
I think it's interesting. I think that sometimes quality of life used to be overlooked, but it seems like that may be coming back up to one of the more important items that's being considered.
As it should be.
Yes. And sometimes, as a top 3 of what they're considering when they're looking for a place to locate. And so it's been very interesting to see kind of how that's evolved through the site selection process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of a pre-COVID and post-COVID. It's definitely a different feeling out there. Probably more weight, literally, is being put on that criteria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Kim, at the Ribbon Cut podcast, both Charles and I, we're working in the site selection industry on the software side. And we're here to enable all players involved, whether they're executing deals or supporting deals, to be really successful in their endeavors, to work with clarity and to work with transparency. So that's our why. We're looking to have deal making go fast and be really productive for all parties. So we're curious, what's your why? You're working on this global stage, helping international businesses find the best location. Why have you decided to contribute your talents and skill to this area?
I believe my why stems from my deep appreciation and belief in the state of Missouri. As a lifelong resident here, I see what we have to offer companies who are considering locating here with our infrastructure, our advanced manufacturing base. We have world-class research institutions and a very diverse workforce. So Missouri truly is a great location for businesses. And again, as someone who calls Missouri home, I'm passionate about the people here, the amenity, and everything that we have to offer, because there's really endless opportunities here, both professionally and personally. So I think that's my why I enjoy doing this.
Well, it's a lot easier to sell Missouri if you're passionate about Missouri and you were raised in Missouri, right? So
yes,
that comes through. You can't replicate that if it's not genuine. So you see that when you talk to you, and the fact that you're a lifelong resident of Missouri, that passion comes through. So it's pretty easy to talk to somebody about why you should come here, right?
It is a fantastic place, I must say.
Yeah. Good people in Missouri. Good people.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yes.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us and sharing what Missouri has to offer, from the people, the site product, and the considerable investments that Missouri Partnership is making, not just in terms of capital investments, but really that strategic thinking and energy that you're putting into the communities at the local level, so that they're truly ready and feel calm and confident to recruit these companies. So we appreciate you joining us on the Ribbon Cut podcast.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you both so much. This has been such a pleasure. I've truly enjoyed joining you today. So thank you for having me.